early morning northwest of Wellington, and it's cloudy, it's overcast, it's a little bit cool, it's a little bit windy for the 2007 running of the Porirua Grand Traverse. This is a multi-sport event with a little bit of a difference that brings the hills and the harbour, the water and the sky of Porirua to the people.
I'm doing the bike section, my brother-in-law's doing the running section, so yeah, we're doing the duathlon. So yeah.
Cool. And looking forward to it?
Yeah, it should be good. Yeah, good day for it, not too bad.
I'm living in Chicago, so pretty hard to get hill work in over there, and I've just been back for a little while, done a bit of training, so we'll see how we go.
It might be great.
Biking the run, eh?
It's hard enough as it is. Yeah, I heard the run's actually quite a difficult sort
Tough, yeah, nice and hilly I think, coastal running.
Have you heard much about this run?
Yeah, I've heard lots from Brent. He said it was really hard last year, especially since he didn't have any water with him. So yeah, I'll be interesting. It's probably the longest run I've ever done as well, so yeah, I'll see how it goes.
Well, we'll look at the run a little bit later, but first these competitors are lining up for the mountain bike leg, and it's not so easy. Up and over a very, very big hill to the east of Porirua.
Didn't rain last night. Okay.
And there they go. Derek Patterson is with me, one of the major organisers of this event. Derek, this is a pretty challenging bike.
It certainly is, but after weeks and weeks of hot, dry weather, we've had a little bit of rain in the past, and it's made it a little bit slick, as the riders will see when they start climbing up the hill, up towards the tops where the power turbines, wind turbines may go in a few years' time.
This is a regional park, so it's an area that's accessible to the general public all of the time. But maybe they won't be going quite this rapidly up the hill. This is the early stages when we're on, as you can see, a little bit of a formed road. Later on, it's much more track-like.
They're dropping into Transmission Gully now. This is where the highway north of Wellington will run in future years. Crossing a paddock down through the stream, and then they begin the big climb up the Porirua Hill, up the Porirua Loop. The stream crossing is a bit lower at present, reflecting how little rain we've had, but the rain in the last week or so is just enough to make the surface of the road up the Porirua Loop very slick and slippery.
This is Battle Hill, the first of two major climbs on this 33-kilometre mountain bike ride. Gorgeous part of the countryside, although as you can see in the rider's rear wheels there, the damp has had an effect. There's a little bit of mud around. Doesn't look too bad on this particular portion here through the pine bush.
But it will get worse as they climb up, as it opens up a bit. It's just on a clay surface, and those tyres will clog up. You'll see there's one having trouble.
Now, if you think our camera's moving a bit quickly, it is mounted on a motorbike. It's not, well, he's not an athlete from the back of Beyond. We've taken advantage of technology, and we're right up the top of the field now, and the men's leader, Marcel Hagener.
Started very steep, and I was wondering how I'm going to cope with that because I didn't have a proper warm-up, but it went all right. Trevor Woodward, he's a local. I just tried to stay with him because I haven't done the course before and didn't want to get lost, but was well signed anyway.
Well, they've got themselves out onto the tops now, out of the bush and into much more open country. What this will do, though, will bring the wind into play, because if it's going to be breezy, it'll be breezy up the top here. It's also the wet ground has had a little bit more effect as well up here. The grass, the track rather, has been affected by the rain of recent week. And you can see we're up in the clouds. Oh yeah.
Somebody's extended it. It's a lot longer than last time.
No sir, it's not a lot longer than last time. That's where you're wrong, but only just. 33 kilometres up Battle Hill and down, then across the highway and up the Belmont Hill and down the other side into Porirua. Sounds easy when you just speak it like that. this is the reality.
Yeah, they're getting pretty close to the top now. They're not going to have to push their bikes very much further. They know a little bit of flat riding, then up to the very highest point with some nice slippery little single track off the top.
On a fine, clear day, you can see forever from up here, but not today.
You really started to enjoy the downhills once you could see a little bit further ahead. That was nice as well that Trevor was there, because you know, with some corners you don't know how fast you can go around them, but he has done the course last year, so I just stuck to his kind of braking and taking the corners plan, and I was sweet.
Marcel Hagener then following the leader.
And he was a bit luckier following Trevor. Some other people had a few problems coming down off the top there. That we had reports of a few tumbles, but nothing serious. No real damage done, just egos hurt.
It's a mountain biker's delight, this area. This is Battle Hill, coming down off Battle Hill. As you can see, there's lots of little tracks. They're nice and narrow and steep and windy and fast, and whatever you want, they're there for you. Marcel Hagener, the leader of the men. And then back in the field, well, they're still having fun. What they do know is that once they come off the bike, there's a more than testing coastal run, which all competitors will be doing, and then for those doing the full event, there's a kayak as well on Porirua Harbour. Out of the cloud now, and well, more or less out of the cloud, but certainly on the downhill section, and that's the reward for all the uphill slog, is that gravity can do a little bit of the work. Michael Langford, one of New Zealand's top mountain bikers, downhill mountain bikers, with the pencil cam on his head there on the helmet, giving us some great images of the downhill. And this is where they've come down to. They go across a bit of a road here, across the main highway, and then unfortunately for these riders, it's more uphill.
They've come off the forestry block and now on Flighty's Road, which will take them down to State Highway 58. They cross over this and begin the next climb.
Now that little lass spent the whole day out there cheering on every single competitor that came past her. Wonderful effort. It's that sort of community support that makes an event like this well worth it. These guys are puffing and panting, and there's a little 8 or 9 year old local resident giving them the come on. Great stuff.
And here we have Trevor Woodward and Marcel Hagener coming onto State Highway 58. They ride along there for about 200 or 300 metres and then turn left up Belmont Road up into Belmont Regional Park. And close behind them are Angus Jennings and Cameron Durno, having a real ding-dong battle for second and third in the men's open event.
A little bit of care required here because they're joining the general public. There's open traffic on the state highway. So that's the one piece of the bike run where they're in competition with the traffic, if you will. But once they go left up here into Belmont Road, although it's still open to traffic, there's not a lot of traffic comes up this road at all, so it's all to them.
And it's just a steady, gradual climb up, first of all on the tar seal, and then they run out of that onto the slick clay once more, up into Belmont Regional Park.
Now, there's a number of different events going on here. Some of these people are riding the full multi-sport, that's the mountain bike, the run and the kayak as individuals. Others are doing that as a team. Then there are other competitors individually doing the duathlon, which is the mountain bike and the run, and there are others doing the duathlon as a team.
And here we have Michael Beaumont, who is leading the individual duathlon at the moment.
So he will be doing the mountain bike and then the coastal run, and I'm looking forward to seeing the coastal run. But first they have to get up and over Belmont Hill. Now this is taking them up to the hills above Porirua East, and then they will come back down again.
Past the old magazines where the ammunition was stored in the Second World War, and you can see the grass waving in the wind there. It's pretty cold at the moment, and they're getting up towards the mist once more.
And the surface is just a little bit damp, except where it's gravelly.
And I had reports later that a number of people took quite a few falls in this section. Up to 3 tumbles was what I heard.
Look at that.
This is struggling up towards the highest point on the course, in fact. If they look over their left shoulder, they can see Wellington Harbour. On a good day they can. If they look the other way, they can see Porirua Harbour.
Today they're in the cloud and they can't see anything except the hill that's right in front of them. But just like it was with Battle Hill, once you go over the top, there's the pleasure of coming down the other side. These World War II structures are dotted all around the hills to the north of Wellington. Not a lot of people know that. But perhaps if you come to the Belmont Regional Park, you'll be able to have a wee look at them and admire the view.
It's just hope you get a better day than these guys have got. On a blue sky day, the views are quite superb.
Still, these guys aren't here for the view. They're here for the athletic endeavour, and the type of weather really doesn't affect them too much. The breeze does a little bit, the wet ground does a little bit, but really, whether they can see Wellington Harbour to one side and Porirua Harbour to the other really doesn't affect them at all.
Now, in fact, the fastest time on the bike this year was about 5 minutes ahead of last year's time. So despite the conditions, they were able to get out there and just hammer it.
Well, that's because they couldn't stop for a look at the view, you see.
Ah, that's probably what it is, yes.
Go, Kate!
Yeah, but go carefully.
That was awesome.
Now, here's Michael Beaumont again, just coming down to what is the nastiest turn, perhaps on the whole of the bike section. They've got to turn 180 degrees. And then they begin the steepest climb as well. Here we are, here's that turn.
Well, that's
Well,
one way
of doing it.
Now, there are parts of this course that are a working farm as well. So there's been some cooperation needed to ensure that gates can be left open so there's not stock wandering and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, and this is the steepest section in the whole race. It's not very long, only 100 metres or so, but there aren't too many people who can ride up it. I've got to have something in there to keep them honest.
And he is being nice and honest and getting off.
And number 21 there is the one in the middle, is Fleur Pawsey, who is the leading woman in this race. Oh, no, she can't make the hill either. Yeah, but at least Fleur's running up the hill. She's showing these men what to do.
You go, girl.
Good. Pumped.
Enjoy that downhill, though?
Yeah, downhill's great. It's fun.
No damage?
No, I managed to stay on the bike, so...
You doing the whole thing?
Good, yep.
Go for it.
Cheers.
You guys.
Mind you, she's a very well-performed multi-sport athlete.
Well, she certainly is. She won the women's section of the Coast to Coast this year, surprising herself as much as anybody else, I think. But
You go,
she's just keeping up the performance, and she's just showing how strong she really is in multisport terms.
Got to see what you do.
These guys struggling their way to the top.
Doing the one as well.
This is it for me. Got a lad who's waiting at the other end.
Going well,
He
though?
can do his bit. Yeah, it's going real good. Great race.
What was the best bit of it, you reckon?
Oh, there's some pretty good downhills. Stretches you on the uphills. Well organised. Good sponsors. Yeah, it's just a good race, really. One of a few. Crazy Man coming up. Karapoti was back in the end of in March there. Kind of good series all wrapped up in a nice little place. Hey, but I better go.
And that was Daryl Carpenter of Team Strategic Impact. And he's about to get back on his bike and ride downhill to the end of the mountain bike section. And while some people push their bikes up, others like to carry them.
Daryl there from Team Strategic, and the team thing, he said he had a young fella waiting for him at the other end, so there was somebody else who's going to be doing the run for him after this, the transfer point. And these guys are going the whole way on their own.
And here we have that competition for second and third. Angus Jennings heading out, Cameron Durno chasing right after him. They're just seconds apart. We seem to have two competitions going on here. We've got Marcel and Trevor right at the front, and then Angus and Cameron just a few seconds behind them.
So a footwear change required, and also the timing device. Right, this is a team event. So they've changed the bib, and off goes the runner.
Yeah, and the transponder too. If no transponder, there's no time. So it's even more important than the bib.
Now that transponder is around the ankle, and you just saw him there, if you were paying attention, ride over a little mat on the path, and that was recording the time for the bike, and the clock is running for the run time, and off he goes.
The run they're about to begin is unique in Wellington, possibly in the whole of New Zealand, for the amount or the change in terrain that it has. It starts off with a climb, which is a bit nasty, steep drop down towards the sea, and then coastal running. There's sand, there's rocks. You get just about everything in this run, more so than you do anywhere else indeed. But it is tough. It's not an easy run, but it is unique.
I would have been going about 45 or 50. I just saw the cup popped up over a lip. Saw the gate, just too slow away. Just skidded sideways. Then I straightened up and boom, straight into the gate. Cameron was there. I think he got me smashing into the gate. It was awesome. It was fun, right?
They enjoy the disasters.
Oh, I'm exhausted. I wish I had a team member now. I'm going to get my support crew to do it for me. It's really hard to keep your balance if you go off the ruts. So yeah, I just lean along the grass a lot.
Women's leader.
You want a banana? I've got one here.
And she's changing her footwear. Now look at the towel down there. No stones inside the shoes, very important.
She's showing the benefits of everything she's learned. No time wasted in transition. This is where races are won and lost, and Fleur knows what to do.
Now here's the other end of Team Strategic.
And have they remembered the transponder? Yes, they have.
Oh, it's pretty tough out there. There's a couple of big grunty uphills, but the downhills are fantastic. A lot of good marshals everywhere, a lot of youngsters out there pointing the way. Just brilliant. Well organised, well run. Great way to see kind of Titahi Bay, Porirua area. But man, there's some grunty uphills. Yeah, it's a good race day.
So coming off the bike, and Trevor Woodward has led his Johnsonville Cycles red team into the run, but only by that few seconds from Marcel Hagener. 5 minutes back, and there was a great battle for second and third, but this is the kids' event.
This is the Canopy Connection Challenge, a completely separate event for juniors 11 to 15. It gives them an introduction to multisport racing. What they do here is they paddle a waka across the other side there, ride their mountain bikes around the Porirua Park and run to the finish. It doesn't take them too long, but it's a way of getting them introduced into the sport.
Great idea. Say again the age group of these fellas?
These are 11 to 15. A lot of them just from local schools, local surf clubs, and it was the waka that is a primary interest to them, of course. They just love doing this. And today they're battling a strong northerly as well. It doesn't look like it so much here, but they know they're paddling into a headwind for sure. So this is a big step up from last year. Last year we only had about 20 kids. This year we got nearly 60, which just shows the interest there is in this side of the sport. And hopefully in a couple of years, the older ones from here will carry on and be competing in the Porirua Grand Traverse itself.
So they come out of the waka and head off on their mountain bikes. They're just off to find them. Oh, and we even dress up for the day. That's great.
Yeah, it was lovely to see some of those girls though out there in their fairy costumes. They cross the road, get their mountain bikes, ride through the back streets of Porirua of Titahi Bay, then round through Porirua Park. Out there they have the cattle to cheer them on as well.
Henda Marshall, very pretty part of the countryside this. That's the entrance to Titahi Bay. Michael Campbell country, for those of you who vaguely recognise the name of Titahi Bay and wonder where you've heard it before. Michael Campbell originated right about here.
For the kids in the Canopy Connection Challenge, it's about a 1.1 kilometre waka paddle, 8 kilometres on the mountain bike, and then 2.5 kilometres run to the finish. They're getting pretty close to the end of the bike here. The tide forced them up onto the track there rather than riding along beside the sea itself.
Hold on, thank you.
This way, down the seashore. Go around there.
Great result there for Bethany Barmner, just 5 minutes behind Mitchell Logan and the second best time overall in the junior section. What a great athlete. But the open event is going up Colonial Knob, and that's the view back over the Porirua Basin. It's quite a steep climb up here.
This is Jerome Shepherd. He's leading the veteran men's section. He's just squeaked into it by a couple of years. But he's right up there with in times with the open section itself.
There's this testing climb up Colonial Knob, which brings them to the coast. And they'll get a view out over Cook Strait and Titahi Bay once they get there.
But first they've got this long drag all the way up towards Colonial Knob before they drop down into Picareri Farm. Fleur Pawsey again just striding out.
I would imagine that after the coast to coast that this is a mere walk in the park.
Well, I did certainly think so. She's making it look like that anyway. The views from here are quite stunning out over the Porirua Basin. They've still got a bit of a climb yet to get up towards the top of Colonial Knob before they drop off to the other side with those wonderful views over Cook Strait.
I'm not sure that too many of these people are appreciative of the views that you're offering them here.
Oh, it's a bit disappointing. They really should be.
It's pretty high. It's a bit of a grunt going up Colonial Knob. It's just one of those steady climbs and there's not really much let up. So just sort of chugged along and then we got up the top and it was windy and a bit misty and cold and you couldn't see a lot. So I was pretty glad they had markers everywhere along the way, otherwise I would have been a bit lost up there.
Fleur Pawsey, the leading female, but back in the field, they haven't got to the top just yet. But you can see what she means. It's very, very solid up on this side. It's not the last climb they're going to have on this run either. once you get up there,
At least it's downhill now.
it's, as he said, downhill now. This is a working farm up here. The sheep that graze up here have 2 legs longer than the other 2 because they're on a lean all the time, because it does blow. Very exposed to the elements up here. Cook Strait is just off there to seaward. And as he gets up over the top here, these guys will see the ocean and then they drop down to it. And a pretty stunning downhill run, I might add.
Oh, it certainly is. They've already had one section of downhill, crossed about up a steep little spur onto the ridge they're on now, running along the fence, and then they begin that long, long run down a still quite a steep spur right down to the coast. Curiously, they're aiming almost at Kapiti Island, which unfortunately can't see at the moment, but you can see from the Kaikoura's up to Kapiti Island. It's really quite a magnificent view. And there's Mana Island out there as well. Here they're starting down off the hill now. It just opens out into a broad spur. It's great running. And there's good thistles growing there as well.
Yes, be careful. Don't take too much of a tumble there. There's thistles and gorse and other things you don't really want to be rolling around in. Now, unlike the mountain bike, when you're on the run, the downhill is not necessarily the easiest part of the track. It's hard work running downhill, especially a hill as steep as this. But boy, if you can afford to have a look, it's stunning. They are going to go right down to the beach down there.
Yeah, they're following that coastline round, all the way round to Titahi Bay. There's sheep tracks, there's sand, there's rocks, there's gravel, there's a little bit of everything in there. That's what makes the run unique. But challenging too.
Oh yes, it's challenging, all right. And loving the challenge are the Johnsonville Cycles red team, who are in the lead, going into the run and enjoying their time on the hill.
I think running through the clag at the top where you couldn't really see much was great, and then the downhill is pretty tough because you're going quite quickly, and that's a great downhill because you can see out towards Mana Island. It's just beautiful. But once you get onto the coast itself, it's just so varied. You're either on soft gravel or a bit of sand, soft rocks, or harder shiny boulders, or really rough stuff where if you fall over you're going to cut yourself to pieces. So it's just always changing, and that makes the time go pretty easily, and it's just a lot of fun basically. And the drink a couple of times, so that was nice to be able to do some pure coasteering where you're actually wading through water. It's good fun.
Derek Patterson, the race organizer, told me that I would enjoy the run. I'm not really known as a runner, but I've done quite a bit of running now in the last couple of months, and I was looking a little bit forward to the run, and just kept our cross honest there on the steep climb, and just looked at my heart rate monitor that I didn't go over 165 beats, and found it hard going up there, but coming down then and out of the fog again and seeing Kapiti Island and the sea, that was beautiful. So that was, it's a nice bonus in the run. You're suffering on the uphill, but then you come down and see the wide open, and then going along the beach was very nice. And unfortunately, I didn't take quite enough water with me. I just had half a liter of water, or 600 ml, and ran out of water, so Al nearly caught me at the end again.
Yes, very important to keep the fuel intake up and to keep hydrated on an event like this. These are the two leaders.
So you might have noticed there that Marcel had something in his hand. So he mightn't be much of a runner, or so he says, but he still found time to pick up some shells there, some power shells, and to leave Al Cross, one of Wellington's most experienced multisporters, in his dust. He just took off and left Al behind. Poor Al.
And he was picking up shells off the beach. That's wonderful stuff, isn't it?
But curious enough, although Marcel did very well, the fastest time in the run this year went to this man, Angus Jennings. He was a minute or two faster on the run than Marcel, and here he's leaving Cameron Durno in his dust.
But remember that Jennings was a good 5 minutes back on the bike legs, so he's really in no danger of catching Marcel Hagener. Spectacular stuff. And I would imagine that running like this in terrain like this around the coast is something that a great number of these competitors will not have experienced before. It'll be a new experience for them.
That's exactly right. That's why so many of them find it difficult. It's the changing terrain, running on the gravel, on the sand. There's something, different terrains all the time, and people just don't train properly for it. It's an off-road run. I've emphasised that. I can't emphasise it enough. Too often people think of off-road as running in the park. This is not running in the park. There's hills, there's beach, there's rocks. And yes, there's a couple of places where you go through some rock falls as well. You get your feet wet.
You're right, this is no run in the park.
And here's Michael Beaumont. Once again, he's leading in the men's duathlon section, the open section there. He's back for a second year and well in front. He's just enjoying himself. He knows what's coming up and he knows how to do it. He's having a great time, and as I say, he's well in front of the next man.
So he's running the duathlon, which is the mountain bike and the run. Those doing the full multisport event will climb into a kayak at the end of this run, and that'll test their sciatica nerve, I would imagine.
Oh, well, for many of them, it's they're happy to do it. It's a chance to get off their feet, sit down and relax a little bit.
This way? Okay, let's go this way.
Although you'd think Jerome Shepherd would know where to go, but no, seems not.
Just about missed the turning there, but there is a Dayglow arrow painted on the ground, and fortunately they spotted it. And these guys, here we go, round the corner and down. Thank you.
No, they wisely decided against the shortcut. Yeah, running on this sort of surface can be very hard on the ankles. I think that's why people find it difficult. But you can get out, you can practice at it, do some training, and you'll enjoy it more.
And stay within your limitations. Don't try and go too fast on a surface where, well, you might roll an ankle or something.
There's Marcel. You see the Porirua shells in his hands there. It's amazing that he's got time to do a bit of shell gathering as well.
You can also see the wind buffeting things around as he comes over the top towards Titahi Bay.
Yeah, there's this lovely little track above the cliffs to the south of Titahi Bay. Here we are, Al Cross struggling to just keep him in sight. Marcel is running away from him. But it's not far now to Titahi Bay, and the last bit of the run section has been shortened very slightly, so it saves about 5 minutes.
You're going to have to get your feet wet, sir.
Yeah.
Splash your way through the water.
This is one part where we gave people a choice here. They could go up and over with a very steep descent, or around there and get your feet wet. We were lucky this year. In fact, the tide was practically perfect for us. It was high tide when the front runners came down, hit the coast, and then it started going out, which meant that the weaker runners had less to worry about in terms of splashing through water at any stage, and that's what we wanted to happen. Yeah, and here we have Cameron is struggling. He's trying to keep Angus Jennings in sight. At present he's sitting in third place again, and Angus is running away with second. Just this short climb up on top of the cliffs and then round to Titahi Bay.
This is the coast, the west coast of the North Island, just north of Wellington. Porirua and Titahi Bay. An area well known to the locals, but perhaps not so well known to those who don't live here, and perhaps it's an area that Wellingtonians in general could spend a little bit more time in. The climb out of Titahi Bay, around the headland.
There's a real battle going on here. Angus Jennings there looking back, saying, where's Cameron? There he is, struggling to keep Angus in sight. It's a bit nasty really. They've run on the beach and then they got this little bit of a climb again up here into Porirua Park. But the end's almost in sight. They come through here, cross over a stile into Porirua Park, round the tops and then down to the changeover at Onopoto Park.
And that's where the multi-sporters will get into their kayaks. For the duathlon runners, the end is in sight, sort of.
And here we are, they're just skirting now, in fact, the Titahi Bay golf course where Michael Campbell learnt his trade. It's on the right, the runner's right, in fact.
And if the golf course is like the rest of the park, then the fairways are hard and fast. The challenge of the terrain, the challenge of the weather, the challenge of the distance of this, the Porirua Grand Traverse, the loneliness of the long distance runner.
You can see in the distance here that bit of coastline, the cliffs they ran over. Hello, Michael Beaumont, slowed to a walk coming up here. But he's pretty safe. He's well ahead of the next competitor in the duathlon section.
So those hills in the background where the run started, up and over the top, you'll remember seeing the views.
They came right around that coast we could see there. Oh, Michael's running again.
A bit of competition, you see. Nothing like a bit of competition to get an athlete on the move.
Yes, but fortunately there was a team athlete that was chasing him, so he wasn't too concerned.
Off the beach and onto the road.
Yeah. And this is another team runner. So someone else did the mountain bike, he's doing the run, and then the third person will be doing the kayak section.
And that's a wonderful, wonderful way to introduce yourself to multi-sport such as this. Go in a team and just do one leg, or maybe do two. But don't absolutely strain yourself to do the whole lot. Gradually work your way into it. And events like this, Porirua Grand Traverse, allow you to do just that. In fact, most multi-sport events, don't they, have a team's event where you can just do the one leg.
Oh, exactly. I mean, it's as you say, it's the best way to get into the sport, find out what your strengths are, and to build up to doing the whole thing. This is young Nick Wilson. He's just a schoolboy. He did the Coast to Coast this year, and he's doing exceptionally well, and it's his first time in the Porirua Grand Traverse. He finished 7th overall. Here we are, back at the water section again. So if he wanted to, he could probably leap across those rocks, but most people will take the easy way, and just a few steps through there, and he's back onto dry land again.
But then, of course, you're running with wet shoes and wet socks across sand and gravel. And this chap's taken option B, which is up and over the top.
Yeah. This is a very brave way to come down. And hello, here comes someone else. Nope, I think I'll go the other way.
Yeah, I think I'll get my feet wet.
Yeah, and frankly, I think it's the better option.
So does he now. Through the firewood and away.
No, thumbs up. Oh, he thought he did the right thing. There we go. Through the water again. But it's great to be a kid, isn't it? To go out there and splash through the mud pools or through the rock pools.
Absolutely. Bit of a cool down in the tide.
I mean, this is one of the nice things about this run, is that you can be a kid again. All of us have memories of those times when we were growing up playing in the rock pools. Now, the Porirua Grand Traverse run lets you do it again.
Onopoto Park, we're transition number 2, and this is into the kayaks.
So yeah, Marcel is the first one there, ready to get into the kayak, and Trevor Woodward is actually helping him to get into the kayak. He's not racing into it at the moment, but one of the reasons is he's not sure where to go. He's never paddled or checked this out in any way whatsoever. So in some respects he's waiting for Al Cross to come, and he will tag with Jill Westenra, the team. Here we are. Here goes Trevor, tagging Jill Westenra, and now they'll be able to paddle together, and Marcel will know exactly where he's supposed to be going.
Jill Westenra, of course, an extremely well-known multi-sport athlete, endurance athlete.
And here's Angus Jennings again. He's comfortably in second place, but hello, there's Cameron.
Now the kayak leg is on the Porirua harbour. They don't go out into the open ocean, but the breeze today is still going to affect them.
It certainly is. There are two places in particular where it's across and you get a side chop, and then the last section into the finish also is going to create some problems for them. But it's all quite manageable. There's nothing dangerous about it. And the other thing is that if you should happen to fall out in Porirua Harbour, you can probably stand up anyway, or if not there, certainly 10 or 20 metres away you'll be able to stand up. So there's no danger at all in capsizing here.
So no splash skirt for him. And the leaderboard as we come into the kayaks, and once again it's close between first and second, close between second and third.
Right. But you must remember, of course, that first and second there is an individual and then a team. So there's actually quite a difference. There's 4 or 5 minutes between the first individual and the second individual.
Well then, here is the leading team in Jill Westenra and the leading individual in Marcel Hagener.
It was actually quite choppy, and I stayed with Jill, who was paddling, because I didn't know the course, and that was good. It was really shallow in some bits. I'm glad that I had the UFO there, because that glides quite well through shallow bits. It was outgoing tide, and we struggled there a little bit against that, and it was choppy, but it was nice as well.
For a bloke who claims to be not a runner and not a kayaker, he's doing pretty well. Marcel Hagener in the khaki kayak. Angus Jennings, meanwhile, with Cameron Durno in the absolute hot pursuit. It looks like a rocket ship, doesn't it, his kayak?
Yes, these kayaks are all expressly designed for multi-sport racing. They're taken from a basic K1 design, beefed up a little bit so they can do up to grade 2 whitewater rapids as well. And they need to be able to handle that. Even in these conditions where there's a bit of a side chop and some white caps and so on, you couldn't easily paddle a K1 kayak in it. You'd just fill it up with water. So here's Fleur. She's comfortably in the lead again and ready to get off her feet, sit down for a little bit and have a bit of a quiet paddle for the 12 kilometres of the kayak section of the Porirua Grand Traverse.
Fleur Pawsey, winner of the Coast to Coast, where the kayak section was perhaps a little more challenging than this. Of course it was down the river. This is on flat water, or relatively flat water, and yes, you do go that way. Comfortably in front, the women's leader, Fleur Pawsey.
Yes, good long uphill up to the north. Got lost in the cloud, but the course marking was fantastic. Lots of tape and arrows, so yeah, that was really cool. It was good. And coming down, no way you could see Kapiti, but you could see Mana there. And it was a pretty steep drop down through the grass down to the coast. And you had a choice to go either rock off along the beach or take the sheep track, but along the sheep track there was a bit of Matagauri, so yeah, you get a bit scratched up here and there. And then got to the beach, it was fine from there. Unfortunately, my water boys.
Oh yeah, we got this story there. Craig was waiting for you, he had no idea how long to wait or where to go.
Yeah,
So he figured he'd find a toilet.
No, there was a garden hose in some guy's lawn, so I said, drinking from the fire hose, they call it. Cheers.
Everybody seemed to enjoy the run, and here's the last little bit of the paddle, and Marcel Hagen has got himself in front. Now that he knows where to go, he can see the finish line, and Jill Westenra chugs in behind. Her team, Johnsonville Cycles Red, comfortably ahead in the team section, and she's just got a little bit of a trot along the street to the finish line.
And poor Marcel, they hid his shoes from him, so he had to, it loses a few seconds there, and Jill gets away in front of him while he gets his shoes. I know he's forgotten his bib as well.
But he went and got it, and the winner of the Porirua Grand Traverse for 2007, Marcel Hagener.
Trevor, Jill and Alze kept me honest today, but it's not that Richard or Gordon were there in front of me and I had to kill myself to keep up.
This time you actually got the surf, so it was actually quite cool to come back down, down the centre and surf the waves.
Great. So you don't think that the slower paddlers will have any trouble with it at all?
They may not feel as confident to go down, so they may stick more to the side.
So there's plenty of shelter there for everybody.
It's not dangerous. I've been in much bigger water than that.
Yeah, well, I know you have.
That one.
Now that battle for third and fourth has been going on for the entire event, and it doesn't seem to have let up. Now one thing that anyone who's paddled a bit will tell you, that sitting in a canoe like this, the sciatic nerve gets affected, and sometimes when you stand up it can be quite exciting.
And you can see that Cameron has had a huge paddle there. He's caught up a lot of time on Angus, but then he's feeling the pain, but he's still happy with his race.
I think I'm about 20 odd minutes faster than last year, so that's good.
So that's good. So why were you fast? I mean, the run was a wee bit shorter, but that's only 5 minutes on the run.
Last year I had a couple of punches on the bike.
Oh really?
Yeah. And this year I just had a good ride. I caught up to Angus on the downhill bit, and then onto the tarmac. We just worked together, and then we pretty much stayed together. But I made a bit of a wrong turn going up Colonial Knob.
Okay.
Yeah, I turned off, went up a gravel road for a bit.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I probably lost about a minute. I lost sight of him.
Yeah.
And then just along the flats was really hard. That was hard.
Yeah.
And all the, the sand and the gravel.
Yeah.
And
it's an off-road run. It's not supposed to be a run on the park,
Yeah. Oh, it's a brilliant run. It was just fantastic. And then I caught him in the boat, but then, as I say, my seat broke, which was a bit gutting, but by that stage I was kind of knackered anyway, so it's kind of a good excuse to have a break.
Yeah, third again, so that's a bit of a...
that's all right,
So next year then you'll have to be coming and be a little bit faster.
Yeah. Well, as I say, it's over 20 minutes faster this year,
so that's great. I mean, it shows
a couple of guys just were faster on the day.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's great. Good to see you back. And
awesome race. Great race.
It's a lovely run. Just beautiful over the tops and very lot of diversity. Go to the coast, around the coast, coming in, and the rocks and beaches, and then around Porirua Park is, I think it's one of the best multisport runs around actually.
The run was amazing.
It's a good run, isn't it?
Great run. There's not many courses that have a run that's off-road like that, and there's so much exciting terrain to run on. It was great.
Yeah, it's a real off-road course, isn't it?
It is, it's good.
Yeah. No, that's good. So do you recommend it to people?
I would say it's a fantastic event. Recommend it to anyone.
Yeah, but he would say that because he's talking to the organiser. But it is a wonderful event. It's not easy, but it's not meant to be easy. But having said that, it is achievable. There's something here for every level of athlete, right the way from the novice to the elite.
So what part of the race did you do?
Mountain bike leg on a single speed, so it was a fairly challenging little ride.
I can imagine it would be. Good ride though, isn't it?
It's fantastic. You haven't been up there before actually, so it's just good to see a bit of country.
And how's the rest of your team going?
Pretty well actually. Josh has had a good run. We're a family team, the Notmans, and the elder statesman is just paddling his kayak into shore now. having a little bit of trouble in the chop.
The Notman family team. Yes, you can enter as a family, you can come as a school group, you can come as... Hello. There's going to be trouble. There's going to be a casualty right at the end.
Yeah, well, as I said, it really wouldn't matter very much where he did his wet exit. The depth is never great anywhere in Porirua Harbour.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit mean, but he's my older brother, so gotta keep him honest.
It's always tough in the family, isn't it? The young ones always picking on the old ones. I tell you what, we're still waiting for the leading woman. Fleur Pawsey had a very comfortable lead going into the kayak leg, so unless she's tipped out somewhere, we'd expect her to be the first one to the beach.
The kayak was interesting actually. It was, yeah, it's quite windy out there and you can't really tell from a distance, but you get into the wind a bit more and there are a few waves, so yeah, there's a bit of surfing and a few dodgy moments. You had to put in a brace stroke or two, and yeah, it was definitely, you had to concentrate the whole way, but that was quite good because otherwise you have to think too much about racing, so if you've got something to take your mind off it, then it makes it a bit easier, I think.
She's had a good summer, Fleur Pawsey. She won the coast to coast and now she's got a few hundred metres to run and she'll win the Porirua Grand Traverse for 2007. The leading woman, Fleur Pawsey. 1K. Now this little run from the end of the kayak leg to the finish line may not seem like much. It's only a few hundred metres. But after sitting down in that kayak for the time that they have been, some are going to find it quite a difficult little trot. Not an athlete of this class, of course, Fleur Pawsey, as she comes across the line to win the women's section of the Porirua Grand Traverse. Congratulations all round, and it looks like she can choose her own medal from any one of those.
Heaps of fun, it was really good. Yeah, it starts, got a few hills in it, so pretty hard work right from the start. Everyone takes off quite quickly, but yeah, it's lots of fun. It's got some nice downhills on it and cross farmland and stuff, so it's just somewhere a bit different you wouldn't normally get to ride, and yeah, it was cool.
Unusual for multisporting in that not often you get off-road runs, but you don't get runs that take you around coastlines like that where you're on beaches, jumping over rocks, crawling in the sea, so in that regard very different.
Yeah, it is. It's really unique. You don't really get to have a course like that in other races. You sort of drop down off the hill and then you're running along the rocks and you've got the, the waves crashing and you can see out to Kapiti Island and Mana, and it's pretty spectacular really. And yeah, it's not the kind of terrain that you usually race on for multisport, so really cool.
Wellington has a really good, like Christchurch as well actually, multisport. People around here is friendly, and what I liked as well is the signing of the course. I got lost in the past on some courses, but that has in general changed all over the country. That has become more professional. You don't get lost that easy anymore. I mean, signing has become better. Special is, I think it's just nice to go up and then coming down and see the landscape and see everything. It's nice.
Yeah, it's a great course. It's just it's pretty unique, like you said about the run. It's not many races where you get to have such a variety of terrain, and there's nothing very easy about it. It's all up and down and no let up really. So yeah, I'd encourage lots of people to come and do it next year. It's a good course.
I think it's fair to say from that selection of comments that they all enjoyed it. 4.5 hours it took the individual winner, Marcel Hagener. The youngsters in their waka, they enjoyed it. It's just a wonderful, wonderful course. The Porirua Grand Traverse for 2007 has been won by Marcel Hagener.